Ladies and gentlemen of the media, as had been advised, we welcome to the press conference. The Honorable Prime Minister will start with introductory remarks before we will then take questions from all of you. Without further ado, sir, Honorable Prime Minister.
And a very good afternoon, members of the media, and thank you for coming today for a few important announcements and clarifications on the governance of our nation. I also greet those who are watching via live stream this afternoon. And thank you for your interest in the workings of your government. I call this press conference to give us all an update on a few important developments that have taken place this week, in particular this morning with the swearing in of the 3 new cabinet ministers and 3 new assistant ministers. A 4th assistant minister who is away, the assistant minister for health, will be sworn in next week. 2 years ago, the People's Coalition government was voted in by the power of 1 vote. Today, with the inclusion of the Group of 9, the G9, in the coalition, our numbers in Parliament have increased to 38. Today, your government has 70% of the 55 votes in Parliament. This leaves the Group of 16 as the loyal opposition with 30% or 16 votes. As a former leader of the parliamentary opposition, I'm well aware of their important role in presenting alternate policies and in holding the executive government accountable. However, the 38 votes that government now has in Parliament is still short of the 75% required to amend the Constitution. In fact, 42 votes are required to meet the first almost impossible hurdle of a 3/4 or 75% vote required by the Constitution for each amendment. In addition, an additional 4 votes would be required for that purpose. The review and the amendment of the Constitution is a key objective of your government, and we will continue to explore how to do this within the Constitution and within the law, and in keeping with the principles of democracy, good governance, and we will listen to your views. We will listen to the views of the people. We have experienced ourselves the current provisions of the Constitution, and we agree that a review and consultations must be carried out to amend the Constitution so that it more accurately reflects our nation and our people and how we want to be governed. Your government will continue its efforts to ensure that we have a Constitution and laws that are more democratic, enable good governance, and that the voice of the people and the media are not suppressed. I say that in recognition that governance, like life, is a constant effort. We must remain vigilant, and we must continue to work to safeguard our democracy, our freedoms, and the future of our nation. No one else will come to our aid and do our civic responsibilities to be good citizens who participate in our governance. We must do it ourselves. To return our focus to the swearing-in held earlier today at State House, I express my gratitude to His Excellency the President for the execution of the ceremony this morning, and I thank my colleagues now for their attention this morning. The addition of 3 new ministers and 3 new assistant ministers to govern in government is an auspicious and progressive occasion. Today's events, to me, are a blessing for the nation and speaks to the patriotism of the Group of 9 and the steps that we must take as individuals to work to unite our nation. Despite the different platforms that we competed on in the last general elections, in 2022, we were able to come together in the interests of the nation to govern this nation and move it forward. Some media have asked about the constitutionality of the appointments made today. To clarify, it is the prerogative of the Prime Minister to appoint ministers and assistant ministers. The group of 9 were formerly members of a political party, which is now deregistered, although there is an appeal. So they have become independent members of Parliament under the Political Parties Act. As independent members of Parliament, they are free agents. While the Constitution does not allow vote jumping or party jumping, they are basically free to choose who to join, whether in government or in the opposition. I'm glad to say that they have coalesced into the group of 9, and after a few weeks of talks among themselves, they have now joined the coalition government. I'm also pleased that my coalition partners, the National Federation Party and the Social Democratic Liberal Party, have welcomed the addition of the new ministers to strengthen government. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome to Cabinet the Honorable Ioana Neville-Rua as the new Minister for Policing. He is no stranger to the Fiji Police Force, having previously served as Commissioner of Police. He is a distinguished military officer, retiring at the rank of Brigadier General, and also a career diplomat, having served as our ambassador to the People's Republic of China, as well as ambassador at large. And I'm confident that he will work with the acting commissioner and the incoming new commissioner to reduce violent crime and improve the law and order situation. Also joining Cabinet today is the Honorable Williamino Poto as the new Minister for Immigration. He is a former commander of the Republic of Fiji Military Forces and also served as Permanent Secretary in the Prime Minister's Office, as well as Director for Immigration. I am confident that he will oversee the ongoing investigation and ensure the department improves its efficiency. Further, that any corruption that's rooted out and department meets the needs of the people of Fiji. In addition, the department plays a very important role in securing our border to ensure the right people enter Fiji, or the wrong kind of people are not allowed to enter Fiji. I also welcome Honorable Moses Mbultabo, a 3-time parliamentarian who joined Parliament in 2014. He's an experienced legislator with over 10 years as a key member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Law, Justice and Human Rights, and I'm certain that his experience will ensure our environment and climate change, where it's moving into, and its laws meet the needs of the nation now and in the future, and that our laws are enforced to protect our pristine environment. Climate change is not only an environmental threat, but also a security challenge, and I'm confident that the Honorable Mbultabo will spearhead our efforts in that regard. The Honorable Mbultabo will bring this experience to the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change to facilitate programs that benefit resource owners who often bear the burden of the effects of climate change and environmental degradation. I also welcome 3 new assistant ministers today. The Honorable Naisa Tunadeva, a former CEO of the Land Transport Authority, to assist the Minister for Public Works and Transport. I'm confident the Honorable Tunadeva will be of great assistance to Honorable Tuisawau, and the Honorable Ali Kimbia, a renowned journalist, one of yours, will become the Assistant Minister for Information, and the Honorable Ratu Susayeni Namu will assist the Minister for Justice in that portfolio. And I'll turn to a few other topics of interest, which have caused some discussion this week. First, the Corrections Commissioner, Dr. Chalesi Nakarawa. For your information, Dr. Nakarawa has completed his leave and is now back in office. The government will follow the processes in the Constitution. If there is to be an investigation, the Constitutional Officers Commission, which I chair, will advise the President of any allegations of misbehavior, and we will follow the requirements of the Constitution. The Constitutional Officers Commission will be guided by the Constitution in giving advice to His Excellency the President in relation to any complaints against any constitutional office holder. The Director of Public Prosecutions. As the Prime Minister, I welcome the decision of the tribunal that was appointed to investigate allegations of misbehavior against the DPP. This is due process. And as His Excellency the President has pointed out, we thank the chairman and members of the tribunal for their work in undertaking the inquiry and their final report and recommendations. The tribunal has in its deliberations considered the term misbehavior, which is not defined in the Constitution, and this sets a precedent to guide Judicial Services Commission, which recommends the appointment of judges, the DPP, FICAC Commissioner, and other quasi-judicial officers to His Excellency the President. It is also a guide for the Constitutional Officers Commission when considering allegations of misbehavior against constitutional office holders. I welcome His Excellency's decision to reinstate the DPP and restore all lost pay and benefits. As an independent officer exercising the prosecutorial power of the state against individuals who break the law, the DPP is bound to respect the Constitution and the laws, and I have every confidence that he will carry out his duty without fear, favor, or ill will. The Commission of Inquiry into FICAC Commissioner appointment. Regarding the ongoing Commission of Inquiry into the appointment of FICAC Commissioner, I gave evidence earlier this week. In fact, I was first up on Monday, and will not say any more, other than to say that the hearings continue, and the Commission has not yet completed its work. If the Commission requires more time to complete its work, then that is something that can be accommodated, and it will be at the discretion of His Excellency the President. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I will stop and take questions from you, if you still have any. So, Vinabale.
Now we'll start with the questions. First question from Sharon Wilson, Fiji Times.
Good afternoon, Honorable Prime Minister. Sharon Wilson from the Fiji Times. With this assignment of key portfolios in your government, are you losing confidence in your coalition ministers?
No, I just need more efficiency.
Isn't that the same thing?
No. Not they have been efficient, but they have not been able to be at all those points at any one time.
So what specific challenges have you faced with your coalition ministers that have led you to arrive at this decision?
We just felt that some of them are probably overloaded. In this case, it's me. I've been overloaded. All these three ministers are taking over portfolios that I have held, and it has restricted me in my overall role as Prime Minister.
So have you not seen any of your senior ministers as having the potential to take up those portfolios?
Not loaded anymore.
Sir John Sosal from the Fiji Sun. Sir, I note that you mentioned about the reaction from the coalition is they welcome the addition. How will the democratic process in terms of boosting a strong opposition in Parliament now that we have a less number in opposition? And we understand that the opposition needs to be strong to be criticizing government policies.
You don't need numbers to criticize government. We have had lesser numbers in opposition before.
Some of your political critics and also commentators have said that this move by you is a move to solidify your position, a political standing in the upcoming 2026 general election.
Well, all I can say to them is that my prime objective right now is to take the government successfully to its end of term, which is 2026.
So
what happens after that?
It's history.
It's in the hands of the voters.
3 ministers and 4 additional assistant ministers. Where is this money coming from? An additional 300K and 350 is on the table.
It's coming from the government. We last week gave 1 million to Vanuatu.
Tell us about the cost-benefit analysis.
Sorry?
Tell us about the cost-benefit analysis of extra
expenses. I believe that the people and the government will be served better, and we will have efficient leaders in the ministries that I held before on the job every day, looking specifically at those portfolios.
If there are not enough of them to get you the numbers you require to change the constitution, what's their use? What's their use to your coalition and to your political agenda?
They were not brought in just to get the numbers for the constitution, although I mentioned that. And I mentioned it very clearly that even with the numbers, we're still short of the vote in parliament if we do not convince the honourable members of the opposition to go along with us.
How about those voters who question how you can bring in Fiji First people into your coalition when part of your job as the leader of the coalition was to take them out of power?
I must remind them that the Fiji First party is no longer in existence.
Sir Shahal from Fiji Times. Just going back to the costs associated with this move, has government drawn up a plan to see how they're going to facilitate this?
I've received a notification from the Minister of Finance that it can be handled from within the budget.
Okay, so does that mean sourcing the funds from different ministries?
From within, yeah, from within the
Will that impact their operations going forward?
It should not, because a lot of those things will depend on how much we use in the allocations for the budget for 24-25.
What do you have to say to those critics who say that this money could have been better used? For other
Better
purposes?
used where?
Well,
Essential
when you feel the-
infrastructure.
Sure, yeah.
For leaves for health sectors, for pay for civil service?
Pay for
Better
civil service
roads,
has
better
been handled.
hospitals.
That has been catered for in the current budget. And any other pay increases will have to be processed through the normal negotiations.
Prime Minister, I noted that you had acknowledged the support from the People's Alliance and the Social Democratic Liberal Party. There is no mention of the NFP. Was the FNP
That was
the one in this decision that you've taken?
no. I probably just missed them out. They were part of. They've always been part of the coalition.
So you've taken away an essential portfolio from Pieti Kundundu, the leader of the NFP. What are you saying to the voters of the NFP, considering this is a very critical ministry?
He has taken over a very critical part of the Home Affairs, previously known as Home Affairs Ministry. He's taken over defense and Veterans Affairs, which I had the Veterans Affairs. He had the defense part of Home Affairs. I think he'll be more committed now to working with the Commander RFMF and working with his defense colleagues in the Pacific, working out how we move forward, considering the volatile environment that the world is in at the moment.
So, Mansi from Fiji Village News. I would just like to ask, what's the arrangement with the opposition group of 9 members in Parliament? Will they vote according to the government or will they remain as free agents? What would the scenario be like?
They will vote with the government. The ministers will vote with the government. The 2 members who are not ministers or assistant ministers will vote according to their conscience, political conscience.
So we've just received information that the NFP caucus are having a meeting right now to decide whether they will remain with the coalition. How do you feel about this? And have you spoken with the NFP leader?
I have not, and I will wait for the result of that meeting.
Have they been consulted at all in these arrangements?
That's not affected any of them.
Some may beg to differ.
Well, in which case they will have to take their own course of action.
Are they no longer an important partner to your coalition?
They are still important. They are part of the government. They are part of the coalition.
So I know that you mentioned that Mr. Nakara, the Commissioner for Correction, is back in office. Now, his sent on leave was done by
No, he was not sent on leave on a
an
complaint.
extended leave.
He was not even extended. He came back when he was due to return to work.
How are you dealing with Siromi Turanga with regards to that?
Yes.
Sorry?
How are you dealing with Siromi Turanga with regards to the Commissioner of Corrections?
I will deal with it when I get to talk to him about the.
Are you
the-
considering a termination? This is not the first time made a mistake?
Many has called him an incompetent minister.
Who is?
Many
Many
critics
people.
of political lords.
Only one prime
Termination
minister.
on the
One
table?
prime minister has not said that.
So do you see his conduct as an abuse of office, Mr. Tubani?
Not yet.
Do
Not yet.
you have any disciplinary measures that you will
We have.
consider?
So he acted without consulting you as the head of the COC. Is that not an abuse of his power?
He told me about it after he had decided to do that, and I told him, stop, we will go by the Constitution.
Prime Minister, how do you plan to solicit the other 4 votes that you need to change the constitution? Are you already receiving some signals from the other side?
In the debates on the review of the Constitution and the discussions outside of Parliament, there is a willingness to consider the constitutional move to change the Constitution.
So what's your assessment on your current ministers?
Sorry?
Your assessment on your current ministers?
Current ministers?
Your assessment on them?
At the moment, we're doing okay. The team is doing well.
What about the health minister? Are you happy with his performance?
Yes.
And apart from your yes, but there are certain people who are still complaining about the health sector, the infrastructure. What are your comments on that, sir?
The health sector?
Yes.
Well, the minister is responsible for the breakdown in health. And we are collectively responsible for upgrading the health infrastructure. And that's what we try and do. We budget for the improvement and the provision of adequate medicine for the people of Fiji. New threats to health, that's beyond our control.
Prime Minister,
So for the G9, now 7 of the members have been given ministerial and assistant ministerial portfolios. 2 are remaining. Are you looking at giving them portfolios as well?
Not necessarily. At this time, we have 2 backbenchers in People's Alliance. They have 1 non-cabinet member in the National Federation Party. They serve a purpose. They will be serving in the committee. Some of them may be promoted in those committees to become chair when 3 former chair come away.
So were you made aware that the civil servants' pay would be delayed yesterday?
I was not aware until complaints came up.
And what time was that, sir?
2 hours after it was probably due. When I checked, the Minister of Finance said there was a glitch, again, another one. Though we don't only have election glitch, we also have that. And I think it's more on the manual switch from the normal 14 days or 2 pays per month to the end of the year to the first pay this year, which is only 5 days or 4 days.
So as the leader of government, how are you not aware that your workforce will be getting delayed on their pay? It's not a new issue. Everyone knows this happens at this time of the year. How are you not made aware that your people will not be getting paid at a time when they critically need that pay? And on
They were
time?
going to be paid on time. It's the technology.
I guess the wider question, sir, that the people of Fiji are asking is they're seeing an ad hoc response from you and your government. They're seeing a reactive way of
Yeah.
conducting business.
We
and people are
reacted.
concerned. What is your response to people who are concerned that you don't seem to prioritize the essential infrastructure of this country?
We assumed that the money would be there on time. When it didn't get there on time, people reacted, and we asked around, what happened? Then they checked and they found out that there was that electronic or whatever.
There are people that are saying that this work to consolidate your political power, to consolidate your coalition, to change the constitution is coming at a heavy cost when our health infrastructure is, some say, at its all-time low, our roads not any better, disaster management in limbo. What is your response? What is your message to the people of the country who are wondering how it is you can spend $300,000 to consolidate your political power when people are suffering?
I'm not consolidating my political power. I'm just improving the efficiency of the government to serve the people. And the infrastructure that you're talking about have been catered for in the budget. And you'll probably notice if you check, and if you had the responsibility of making sure that what your questions are based on fact, you would have realized that all those things you're asking have had significant increases in budgetary allocation over the last 2 years.
It's the people that are asking, sir.
Mr. Prime
You're
Minister,
just conveying that question. Sorry.
Mr. Prime Minister, people are also calling you out for having double standards. This is with regards to Mr. Sitiveni Rabuka's case when compared to the former Minister for Women. We are weighing how come she was terminated at that point in time when Mr. Turanga has been doing this and we call it mistake.
I have not received a complaint or any concern about Sitiveni Rabuka's actions that you're referring to.
So we
Whereas
noticed
the other ministers was a direct complaint sent to me.
so we noticed the absence of Deputy Prime Minister Manokam Kamita and Minister Sakyasi Vitoka this morning. Did they indicate they were going to be present, or are they on leave?
No. Those that were present this morning were those that I specifically asked to come. I specifically asked for Sitiveni Rabuka because his assistant minister was going to be sworn in. The deputy prime minister and party leaders were invited out of courtesy, and no other minister was invited.
So is there a reason for separating the policy and defense portfolios instead of keeping the home affairs portfolio?
We
Minister?
we are one of the very few countries in the world that have both police and defense together.
So what about the investigation into the unauthorized issuance of passport, which led to Mr. Tikundundua voluntarily stepping aside for the investigation?
It's
Has
ongoing.
there been any?
Still ongoing. I mean the results of the investigations have gone to DPP to decide.
Did the result? Is the result one of the reasons why two of the portfolios has not been given back to him?
No, I have not even seen the result.
So with the 3 new ministers and assistant ministers, how would this affect the taxpayers? Are we expecting any increase in tax in the upcoming budget?
No, at the moment there is no increase in the taxes. We are expecting this to be absorbed from within the current revenue provisions in the constitution. In the budgetary processes.
So you mean that the eligible allowances and payment will not affect the taxpayers?
No, it should not.
so just a question for the newly appointed ministers. Do you feel you will lose your support come next year's election now that you have joined the coalition government, knowing that you came in on the Fiji First ticket?
Your
You
own.
think you will lose your voter support come next year's general elections because you came in on a different party ticket?
I'm not even looking at 2026. I think this is a better use of my time in the next 2 years. Give it my best shot in the portfolio that I've been given.
Yeah. For us, it's really the now part of our work, where government needs us, and we are stepping in for that, getting the job done, and assisting the Honourable Prime Minister to get that done.
Mr. Navalaro, you're inheriting some critical work in the policing, what's it called now?
Policing
ministry.
Yes.
The Blue Reset is at a critical time of its juncture. Is this will you be taking on and continuing the work of Mr. Tikundundua and therefore consulting him, or do you have a new state of play? Do you have your own strategy? How will you do this work, considering that the police force is currently facing its worst time ever in terms of corruption, and they're admitting it. Under Tikundundua, there were a lot of police officers prosecuted for corruption charges. How will you tackle this going forward?
This is day one of our work, day one. And I get full briefings from the police next week. Then from there, I'm able to fully assess the current situation, high profile issues, and also have a time with the Honourable Minister Tikundundua, Commissioner, of course, and a whole list of others. Then I'll be in a better position to assess and perhaps map a proper way forward, comparing the past, the current, and perhaps the roadmap forward.
You've held this portfolio before, and at a time when the police fell to its current
Commissioner
low.
of Police, but not this post.
No, well, you were, okay, let's call it that. You were head of the police at a time when it fell to its all-time low. What's your message to people who will question your integrity and your ability to do this work?
Now that's the past. We are now focused on forward, the forward pathway for the Fiji Police Force. And I think we should not cross them out. We have many good people within the Fiji Police Force.
No, so it's you that I mean, the people who will question your integrity. What's your message to those people?
Well, I've not seen anything about my integrity unless you have information that you pass on to me.
Minister for Climate Change, how does it feel to be finally a minister?
What do you mean finally?
I mean, sir, just drawing what the people is saying online.
Yeah, Minister Bultama, sorry, I guess just to, from that question, Minister Naivaluru and Minister Nopoto, people have said online that they come with the experience. This is a new portfolio for you, it's your first ministerial portfolio as well. How are you going to apply your knowledge to the work that will be required of you?
It's not new to me. The current Climate Change Act that was passed as a bill in 2021 was under the committee that I was part of in 2021. So that's not something that is new. It's also going through review as per briefing this morning. So, and also other annual reports from various government ministries have been coming through our committee in the last 10 years. My work in Parliament. So I'm familiar with institutional knowledge and policies in various programs and the various reviews that we've done through those annual reports and recommendations.
You present at the last COP.
And also with the knowledge of COP, there will be all those experiences will guide me in my new role.
What do you see as being the most important environmental and climate change issues that Fiji should be tackling? What is the most important, do you think?
The effects of climate change, probably our sea. And we have Oceans Conference coming up probably later this year, and probably other coastal areas and our marine protected areas, and looking into protecting our ecosystem and also food security for our people. These are some of the things that are very important to our people.
Will you also be looking at the littering issue that currently is, Fiji is facing?
Yeah, we're already looking into that, and we are going to look into the regulations. Plus other review into the Liquor Act. It's already in the pipeline.
Honorable Mulita, will just go back to Charlie's question. You've jumped ship 3 times. How do you think voters will perceive your change of loyalty from Fiji First, Sedalpa, People Alliance, and now to the coalition government? How can you assure voters or the public that you will do your best in this role?
I'm an independent member of Parliament, invited by the Prime Minister. So I'm joining Cabinet as with a responsibility assigned to me by the Prime Minister. So it's focused on the issues and the role I have to play in regard to the ministry that I look after. Nothing to do with politics.
His votes are personal. They went with him to Sedalpa, they went with him to Fiji First, and they're still with him.
Mr. Mulita, will you be standing for the 2026 election and under which banner?
I'm not thinking about 2026, I'm just here to serve the people and for Fiji under the current Prime Minister.
I would like to direct my question to the Minister of Policing. So as we know that the kingpins are still around, we haven't heard any arrest of them. How would you look at this issue when you come into
What do you mean by kingpin?
drug pin?
Okay. That's a big issue. That's a big issue at hand. Eh? And that's one of the major fronts that we'll have to confront. And that's where I think we will need to do a bit more homework and perhaps put forward a more effective plan in fighting drugs. We've got a few ideas, but it needs to be discussed with the other key agencies, hopefully by the next 2 weeks.
So some people have also raised concerns that not much police foot patrolling is happening. Would you like to comment on that at the moment?
I think the key issue right now is really about the operational effectiveness of the force. Only after the briefing next week, then I'll be able to determine whether we have been effective or not, whether we've been directing the right energy, the right resources at the right places or not. So that's a briefing I'm going to get next week.
Will you also be meeting with the incoming police commissioner, sir?
Yes, I hope to do that too.
So some of the members of the former deregistered Fiji First Party are currently being investigated. What surety do we have that we will be impartial in how you stand in these investigations? Mr. Nopot.
I'm not fully aware of that.
Okay, let me just at this time say that while the Honorable Naval Rua will get his full brief next week, I have not had any full briefing or handover briefings with the ministers who are taking over the portfolios I had. So you've done very well, and they've done very well answering your questions before the brief.
Okay, one question from
On December, you mentioned that you hinted with us that you wanted this cabinet reshuffle because you are working late at night. Exactly. And what does it mean for you now that you have laid off some of the portfolios and more family time probably? And also, last one, would you be contesting the 2026 general election and in which under what banner?
If I'm alive and well, and the party is willing to have me, yes. At this time, I feel well enough to put my hand up for the party selection committee to consider me.
And I reckon you'll probably have more family time now that more of your portfolios have been shared.
I do not know because I have family time all the time.
There's a question for the Honorable Pierre.
Mr. Mayor, you're the newest member of Parliament. You've just come in 2 years, now an assistant minister. How do you plan to carry forward your
Well,
Tell them, when my first term in Parliament, I was Prime Minister.
so,
twice?
like the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister have said, we haven't had an official handover, but just the last few hours, the director information and the PS have done a good job and somehow briefing me on what's to come in the next few weeks. But from my experience, I'm more than ready, and with the belief of the Prime Minister giving me this portfolio, will carry forward for what has been left of the Prime Minister.
Mr. Mayor, you've been vocal in the past as opposition member about some of the things that could be done better in government communications and information-wise. Can you share that with us?
Like I've said, when we do the handover in the briefing, then I will be able to know what's the progress that is currently here and what has been done for the past 2 years and what's left to be done. So after the briefing and after the handover, then we can continue.
Mr. Nopoto, there's been continuous...
Honorable Nopoto, thank you.
Sorry, sir. There's been continuous complaints about the passports, processing of passports, which has affected us for the past 2 years, I think. What are your plans, immediate plans you have?
I had a quick tour of the facility today. I found out that there is a printer that is not working. The current capacity of the one printer that is working, they are able to print 300 passports in a day. I have right now, I'm not too sure as to the stock of passports that are left. Usually
just over 7,000.
Yeah. So if it
that's what I was going to hand over to you before you answer your question.
There you go. So the handover is in front of you. But certainly we working. The word that the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned is efficiency. Immigration, life decisions. When you want to move to a country, and it's usually, I found that as director, because it is a life situation decisions. They tend to follow. That is why it gets very corrupted very quickly, because you want to go and you're stopped and then you begin to pay on the side. So when we have an efficient system where you're not waiting that long, it roots out those possibilities. Yeah? It's the systems and process. They say that for fraud it's opportunity plus temptation. Temptation is always there, but it is our system and processes that provides the opportunity, and we deal with it, make sure that they're efficient. We should be okay.
Honorable Prime Minister,
That'll be the final question.
Just a question with regards to the portfolio that Honorable Sashi Kiran is holding. We understand that she has told the media that it's quite a big, tough job for her to do it. Are you considering giving her an assistant minister, given that she has no assistant minister at the moment?
With the
Ministry for Women, Children and...
Yes, particularly with the addition of now that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is up and going, yeah, I might consider that. Could be a redeployment.
Will it be a men this time around? Or
Sorry?
Because we often see women holding the position. Could we have a balance, her being the boss and an assistant being a man?
It can be. Or she can concentrate on one and we get a man there and a lady. We don't have any more ladies.
Okay.
We have a lady. She's a backbencher at the moment. Or what do you call it? When
as for Honorable Tamboy, are you considering maybe in the future to reinstate her back into one of the portfolios?
Everybody who's on the backbench is considered as a possible inclusion in cabinet.
So, Mr. Prime Minister, I have a final question. Right behind you are two gentlemen from Vanua-Levu. There's always a lot of talk on social media about the Vanua-Levu bloc and solidifying your position in national politics. With Colonel Minister Nevalurua now on board, and if there may be consideration by him to join the People's Alliance, is this your efforts to a pathway for a successor in 2026?
No, that's too far beyond the horizon I'm looking at. I do not want to even anticipate what will happen in the 2026 lead up and after the 2026 election. The Vanua-Levu factor that you brought into the formula was never a consideration, as far as I'm concerned. And also consolidating my position, you probably have noticed that I got more votes outside of Vanua-Levu than in Vanua-Levu.
Okay. Shall we call it a wrap? Thank you very much.